Tucked deep within Virginia's Blue Ridge foothills lies a cedar and stone retreat so peaceful, you'd never guess it belongs to a man who once lit up country music's biggest stages. What kind of life does a chart-topping legend build after the fame fades? Today, we step beyond the spotlight and into Ricky Van Shelton's hidden haven, a soulful sanctuary of land, legacy, and Southern grace. It all began in a town called Grit. Yes, that's the real name of it, Grit, Virginia. A tiny dot on the map where faith was sung before it was spoken, and where hard work wasn't a virtue, it was survival. Born in 1952 in nearby Danville, Ricky Van Shelton grew up in a home where gospel music echoed through the walls like Sunday prayers. His father, Jenks, was a gospel singer himself. But even in those early days, young Ricky felt something stirring deeper. Something that reached beyond the pulpit and into the soul of country sound. Was it fate that country music found him? Or was he born already carrying its ache in his voice? He sang in churches, of course. That was expected. But when no one was looking, Ricky found himself drawn to the dusty heartbreak of George Jones and the poetic grit of Merle Haggard. By his teens, he was performing in his brother's band at local events, his voice low, smooth, and already soaked in emotion. In a town so small it barely had streetlights, this boy was dreaming in neon. But dreams don't come easy in places like Grit. After high school, Ricky worked jobs that left his hands raw, hauling, lifting, sweating for wages that barely paid rent. At night, he played bars and clubs, chasing something nobody around him could see, not even himself. Then came the moment that changed everything. In 1984, Ricky followed his longtime girlfriend, Betty Witt, to Nashville. She had a job offer. He had a dream and a few demo tapes. It was a gamble. No safety net, no music deal, just faith. He played smoky lounges, passed his tapes to anyone who'd take them. Nothing. Silence. Rejection. More silence. Until one night, Jerry Thompson, a country music columnist, heard Ricky's demo. What did he hear that others missed? Perhaps it was the sincerity, the lack of pretense. Or maybe, just maybe, it was the kind of voice you only hear once in a generation. Velvet wrapped around raw steel. Jerry set up a meeting with Columbia Records. The audition was short. The offer came fast. By 1986, Ricky Van Shelton was signed to a major label, and his debut album was in production. The first song, Wild-Eyed Dream, was a modest success. But it was the next few singles that changed everything. Crime of Passion, Life Turned Her That Way, Somebody Lied. Each one cracked deeper into the charts, until suddenly, Ricky was number one, again and again. By 1987, his name wasn't just rising, it was dominating. That year, his album topped the Top Country Albums chart and became one of the best-selling records of the year. The man from Grit, who once sang in barns and backyards, was now filling arenas. And he didn't stop. His follow-up album, Loving Proof, brought even more hits. I'll Leave This World Loving You, From a Jack to a King, and Living Proof. The accolades poured in. Platinum plaques, CMA awards, standing ovations from Nashville to New York. For a time, Ricky Van Shelton stood as one of country music's purest male voices, a torchbearer of the neo-traditional movement alongside George Strait, Randy Travis, and Clint Black. But what the world saw on stage wasn't the full picture. Behind the spotlight, Ricky battled silently with alcoholism. The pressure, the pace, the price of being perfect. In 1992, he stepped forward and admitted his struggle. Not in scandal, but in honesty. He sought help. He found grace again. And like any good country ballad, the story shifted. He released a gospel album, Don't Overlook Salvation, and began writing children's books, stories filled with animals and innocence. perhaps as a balm for wounds no chart position could heal. He launched his own label, took control of his art, walked away from the commercial chase. By the early 2000s, Ricky had slowed down, not in voice, but in ambition. He didn't need the stage anymore, because somewhere in Markham, Virginia, nestled between whispering pines and a stone fireplace, was something more enduring than fame: peace. And that's where we're headed next. Because behind every quiet man is a quiet place, and Ricky Van Shelton's Virginia retreat, hidden from the noise, tucked in the hills, may just be his greatest hit yet. Retreat in Virginia. What does peace look like for a man who once sang to millions? Maybe it's not found in a roaring crowd, but in the hush between two hills. In Markham, Virginia, far from the neon glare of Nashville, Ricky Van Shelton found what so many artists spend their lives searching for: silence, space, and the sound of wind through trees. Here, hidden beyond a winding country road, rests his 54-acre Virginia estate. Not just a property, but a personal sanctuary shaped by weathered stone, warm cedar, and decades of soul. As you pass through the front gates, the world changes. You leave behind the noise and step into something older, something timeless. The gravel crunches beneath your tires, deer lift their heads in the distance, and ahead stands a house that doesn't shout wealth. It whispers character. The main home, a masterful renovation of wood and stone, sits like it was born from the landscape itself. Broad wraparound porches give way to sweeping views of the Blue Ridge Mountains, where mist rolls like a dream in slow motion. There's no city skyline here. Only sky, pasture, and peace. Step inside. The air smells faintly of cedar and clean stone. The pinewood floors creak gently beneath your feet, not out of age, but out of welcome. To your right, a sun-soaked living room where 35 tall windows stretch toward the treetops, letting Virginia light dance across a wood-burning fireplace framed in natural stone. You can almost picture Ricky here, a guitar resting nearby, a golden retriever curled at his feet. The library sits tucked beside the hearth, lined with built-in bookshelves. It's a space for quiet thought, or perhaps where he drafts his next children's book. The room hums with stillness, a retreat within a retreat. Move into the formal dining room where Southern tradition lingers in the air. The long farmhouse table looks like it's hosted years of quiet dinners, family grace, and maybe the occasional visiting songwriter. Beyond that, a fully renovated kitchen gleams under exposed beams. Marble countertops, classic cabinetry, and copper fixtures blend elegance with rustic charm. A bright breakfast nook nearby offers a perfect view of the morning mist lifting off the fields. The master suite is located on the ground floor, a subtle luxury. Wood-trimmed windows frame the landscape like living art. The ensuite bathroom, a haven of limestone and glass, feels more spa than country. And upstairs? 3 more guest bedrooms and bathrooms, each designed with a balance of comfort and simplicity, a place to host without performance. But the beauty doesn't stop at the threshold. Step out back, and you'll find the flagstone patio, edged by wildflowers and a distant tree line. It's not hard to imagine Ricky here in the early morning, sipping coffee as mist clings to the grass. Beyond the house, the estate unfolds like a song in verses. A 2-car garage with an upstairs storage loft. A detached studio, complete with its own kitchenette, bathroom, and private porch. Ideal for writing, painting, or the kind of solitude artists crave. A pool house, built beside an original swimming pool, now serves as a place of summer stillness, shaded by oaks and stars. There's even an old barn waiting to be restored, perhaps a metaphor for Ricky himself. Further out, you'll find 2 fenced pastures, a natural spring-fed pond, and a caretaker's log cabin, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, tucked gently into the property like a whisper from another time. And somewhere in all of this, amid the trees, the stone, the hush, is the soul of a man who turned his back on flash for the promise of forever. Why did he choose this life? Perhaps it's because Ricky Van Shelton never sang for attention. He sang to heal, to remember, to bring truth to sorrow and light to silence. And now, in this Virginia retreat, he's found a place where the songs no longer need microphones, because the land listens. So what happens when the curtain falls? And you don't run from the quiet. You embrace it? You get this. A home not built to impress, but to endure. A life no longer measured by applause, but by how deeply you breathe in the morning air. And yet, as poetic as this 54-acre refuge may be, it's not the only corner of Virginia Ricky calls home. Because tucked away just a few counties over, he keeps another house. Smaller, simpler, but with just as much soul. House in Arlington. Not every home needs grandeur to carry weight. Just outside the hum of Arlington, on a 25-acre parcel wrapped in old-growth trees and birdsong, lies a second piece of Ricky Van Shelton's story. It's not as vast as his Markham retreat. It doesn't boast stone fireplaces or panoramic mountain views. But this house, it breathes something just as rare: memory. Nestled in nature and valued at $1.2 million, this charming Virginia hideaway feels like a handwritten letter, personal, humble, and full of details that only make sense to the man who lives within them. The gravel driveway curls through mature oak and maple, their branches reaching over like a cathedral of green. The front porch is modest, dressed in aged wood, with rocking chairs that look like they've listened to 1,000 quiet thoughts. Step inside. Immediately, you're greeted by a warm living room, where a wood-burning fireplace anchors the space. The walls are soft-toned, the furniture worn in, not worn out. The kind of room built not for guests, but for living. To the right, a remodeled kitchen glows with the soft sheen of brushed metal and polished counters. It's not flashy, but everything feels touched by intention. A space for real cooking, not photo shoots. Nearby, a separate dining area sits beneath a window overlooking the garden. It feels like a room where stories are shared slowly, over coffee and cornbread. And then, there's the sunroom, or what some might call the bonus room. Cozy and tucked beside the kitchen, it doubles as a home office, or sometimes, on slower days, a quiet place to read or nap. One can imagine Ricky here, pen in hand, sketching another children's book, or simply reflecting on how far he's come. Upstairs, 2 bedrooms wait beneath a sloping roof. One is lined with cedar wood, giving it a cabin-like warmth. The built-in closets are neat, minimal, and deeply personal. The second-floor bathroom, recently updated, balances vintage charm with fresh design. Modern, yes, but still whispering home. And like any Southern household worth its roots, this one comes with a secret below. A partially unfinished basement opens directly into the garden. It's raw, utilitarian, housing a laundry area, workshop space, and storage room. But that rawness is its charm. It's where tools are kept, holiday lights are stored, and little projects unfold when no one's watching. Outside, the garden blooms with native Virginia plants, dogwood, hydrangea, patches of herbs and vegetables. It's not landscaped to perfection, but loved into life. It feels like Ricky's presence, quiet, organic, and deeply human. So why keep this home, when he already has 54 acres of paradise in Markham? Maybe because this is where real life happens, where Ricky and Betty return after a long drive, where neighbors still wave from porches, where there's no need for fences because trust has deeper roots than wood. In a world obsessed with more, this house says something revolutionary. Enough is everything. And in that way, it's not just a second home. It's a second verse, quieter, slower, but just as true. And while these homes reflect the spaces Ricky has built around himself, they also hint at something deeper. What kind of life, what kind of wealth allows a man to walk away from stardom and into stillness? To answer that, we'll need to go behind the songs and explore the fortune he built, not just in dollars, but in freedom. How much is a voice worth? Not just any voice, but one that once dominated country radio, filled concert halls, and turned heartbreak into harmony. By the numbers, Ricky Van Shelton's net worth sits around $6 million, a quiet fortune for a man who never chased extravagance, only excellence. No sprawling Beverly Hills estates, no headline-grabbing car collections, no tabloid spending sprees. Instead, he chose to invest in land, privacy, and legacy, buying not one but 2 properties in Virginia, where every dollar lives in stone, wood, and soil. Because in the end, his fortune isn't measured by excess. It's measured by freedom. The freedom to retire when he wanted, to paint when he pleased, to step away from the microphone without debt or pressure. So, how do you value that? You don't. You just respect it. And maybe that's why Ricky Van Shelton's story isn't just about wealth. It's about wealth without noise. But behind this quiet fortune is a louder force, one that shaped not just his songs but his soul. It's called faith. And for Ricky, that faith didn't just save him. It taught him how to give. Personal life. There was no farewell tour, no standing ovation, no confetti raining down. When Ricky Van Shelton decided to step away from music in 2006, he did it the same way he lived his life, quietly, purposefully, without fanfare. He didn't need one last spotlight, because the only eyes he truly ever cared to impress were waiting for him back home. At the center of Ricky's personal world has always been Betty Whitt, the woman he followed to Nashville, and the woman who stood by his side through decades of highs and lows. They married in 1986, but their story began long before the wedding rings, in love, in loyalty, in shared dreams. And now, in the quiet chapters of retirement, that love hasn't faded. It's deepened. The couple spends most of their time in Virginia, dividing peaceful days between the spacious 54-acre Markham estate and the more intimate Hideaway in Arlington. But no matter the setting, the rhythm of life is slower now, more intentional. Gone are the tour buses. In their place, morning walks, mugs of coffee on a misty porch, afternoons spent gardening or watching birds glide across the pond. And for Ricky, always the artist, there's a new kind of stage. He's taken up painting, often landscapes pulled straight from memory or scenes just outside his window. Brush in hand, he swaps lyrics for color, turning silence into story. His garage has quietly transformed into a modest studio, filled with unfinished canvases, oil-scented air, and shelves lined with old sketchbooks. He still writes, too. Not for radio, but for the joy of children's stories, small books filled with whimsy and wisdom. Ricky's characters, ducks, cows, geese, speak in simple truths, mirroring the values he's always held close: kindness, humility, redemption. And while Ricky's name may no longer headline concert marquees, fans still find him. Letters arrive, some from people who were raised on his music, others from recovering addicts who say his honesty gave them courage. He doesn't answer all of them, but he reads them. And sometimes, he cries. Because even in stillness, the echo of his music lives on. He keeps no social media, no public interviews, no attempts to claw back attention in a fame-hungry age. But every once in a while, a neighbor catches him picking tomatoes at the local farmer's market, or walking hand in hand with Betty at dusk, smiling without needing to speak. What does a country legend look like after the curtain falls? Maybe like a man wearing a flannel shirt, tending to his land, or humming a forgotten melody while feeding the horses, or sitting under a tree, paintbrush in hand, sketching the sky he used to only glimpse from a plane window. There's a kind of power in disappearing, in choosing presence over popularity. And Ricky Van Shelton, the voice once heard by millions, now finds his greatest comfort in silence. So many chase fame, believing it will complete them. But Ricky? He walked away from it. Not because he had to, but because he was finally full. And if you ever find yourself driving through the hills of Markham or along the quiet roads of Arlington, look closely. You might catch a glimpse of him, not behind a microphone, but behind a canvas. Not dressed for the stage, but for the soil. Not singing for applause, but for himself. Because sometimes, the greatest success isn't found in the spotlight. It's found in the life you choose to live when no one's watching. If this glimpse into Ricky Van Shelton's quiet life has moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There are still stories like his, of music, peace, and purpose, waiting to be told. And sometimes the most powerful voices are the ones that choose to whisper.